Hey guys, my name is Ethan, this is Carbra, and welcome back to another tutorial video. This is an addendum to the series I just did on how to build Discord.pybot. This is basically improvements and changes, most of which are minor, really. There's nothing too massive here, but it's somewhat useful to know. So the first thing is something right at the top. I queried near the start of this series whether or not you needed this client object at all. It turns out that you don't. It turns out that you don't need it at all. And it turns out that this bot actually has a few more keyword arguments. So you can start it with a particular status. So you could say, I think, and then Discord dots. You have to import Discord straight up first. Discord.status. .dnd. I think that's enough. I can't remember. For this bot, it's not really that useful. If you wanted it to boot up in offline mode, then you could do that and have it stay invisible. One other really useful one is I think it's max messages, and you can set it to 100. Let me just quickly check that. Yeah, as you can see here, so got this is actually a different file completely. This you have a from Discord import status, and then yeah, you can set the status. This one actually boots up in DND mode. Then max messages equals 100, so you can set just max messages equals 100. The default for that is 5,000. Changing that would be in the hope that you reduce the memory usage of the bot over time. It doesn't appear to work amazingly well, but it's something useful to keep in mind if you wanna keep it in mind. The next thing I want to talk about is the time zone issue with the whole the whole thing I was talking about with the local time zone and database time zone discrepancy. I talked about it briefly in a video, but one way to fix it is by using the datetime.utc now instead of datetime.now, and that will actually return the UTC equivalent of the current time. And then because the database locks itself into UTC, you don't have to worry about adding anything particularly. You just have to add 60 here, for example, and then it will work perfectly fine. I'm really annoyed I didn't mention that at the start, but you know, what can you do? Another way of doing it is if you have the message object available, you can always use message.createdAt, which is arguably more accurate in certain situations. If like the API is being really slow and things are a few seconds out, you can use message.createdAt. And also if you're doing a system that, say for example, if you wanted the leveling system to go back in time, scroll through every single message in the entire server, and then count XP, including XP locks and stuff, that you can use the message.createdAt to kind of almost make the bot think that it's in the past. So you can do stuff like that with message.createdAt. Datetime.utc now will be perfectly fine for most instances though. But yeah, I'd recommend using UTC now just all the time when using Discord bots, or not using now at all, because obviously localization things. It's easier just to use UTC. And time zones are a bitch in Python. They really are. So yeah, the next thing, I said when we created the scheduling system that I wasn't 100% sure if the Asyncio scheduler could take non-asynchronous tasks. Turns out it can. I've been doing some experimentation, and this database.commit up here does not actually need to be asynchronous. If I took the asynchronicity out of it, it would work perfectly fine, and then these two functions would basically just be used to call commit. To call the commit function and the close function from an external file that imports a database module into itself. So the scheduler does not need asynchronous tasks to work. It works perfectly fine without them. The typing.optional thing, this optional thing, I said in when we were doing commands that it worked. That not having the optional thing and just having, say, this for example, worked fine some of the time. I'd said that I'd gotten inconsistent results and that things didn't quite work properly. Well, I've done more testing with it, and it turns out that the typing.optional thing is not required at all. You do not need it. You just need to. I mean, you can have it for ease of use, but I mean, yeah, if you provide a keyword argument, then I'm not sure what happens if you don't provide a keyword argument with an optional. I've never tried it. It probably would break in that instance, but as long as you provide a keyword argument here, then it will probably be okay. It then treats this as an optional thing, and I think I'm not sure what it passes into the function, but I think it just doesn't pass anything in at all. But it's perfectly happy to deal with it. The greedy does not follow the same convention though. The greedy, you do need to specify greedy, and greedy as well also does not work with base classes or base objects like string objects. So for example, you couldn't do that, and you couldn't do that. God knows why. I really have no idea why. I guess because if you wanted to have multiple strings, you wouldn't need to do that because it would automatically take the strings. That's probably what it is actually. I think I just answered my own question. Yeah, because if you don't have the asterisk here, then it will take every string argument as a separate argument. That's probably why it's done like that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I answered my own question. And the final thing is the permissions thing. I can't remember if I mentioned anywhere that there is actually a better way of doing permissions, but there is. I actually found one. I found a better way of doing it. I just need to find a command that actually has permissions. Oh, there we go. This is a good one. So the shutdown thing. So at the moment it's got it manually checks the permissions thing. But there is, if you go at the top, it does take a few more imports. But if you do just the ext commands bot greedy and then start here that has permissions, and then it'd be bad argument command for missing required argument and then missing permissions, and then my OCD that needs to be alphabetized. If you had, let's go back down and find the thing. Where the hell was it? Where was it? There it is. So if you say you wanted to lock this down to administrator, you could do, you could set up a decorator, a parameterized or parameterized. I can't remember what the word. I think it's parameterized decorator, and then set the permissions here. So it's assumed false. Besides the ones that you explicitly pass through as true. So for this one, it'd be has permissions administrator equals true. We can then get rid of this, and then that function will only run if we'll just quickly copy it. It's raining again outside, I think. We'll just quickly copy that bit of text. We don't lose it, and then you can just have it like that. And then there are kids playing outside as well, and they're all screaming their heads off because it's suddenly raining, and I don't want it to be raining. You can do another if is instance. Oh god. Okay, I don't know why. Because I've done in instance. That's why. So why is Sublime not suggesting that? So because it raises an exception, and if the exception is missing permissions, you can then await. Actually, I just copied the text. Okay. CTX dot send. You're not allowed to scrub and then return, and that will happen for every time. So you can go say for clear messages. I won't do it for all of them now, but you can do it for all of them in your own time. Has permissions, so you can have managed messages. I believe that works based on channels if it can. I presume it would because there doesn't seem to be an alternative or anything to specify it. So I'm presuming it would look for permissions in first, then go for guild permissions. The API is generally quite well written, and then you can just get rid of all this, and then the function is so much cleaner, and you can change the error message all in one go. So I won't do the rest of them, but yeah, that's how you would go about doing that. But yeah, those are all the little improvements that I found that I could have done over time. If you've noticed any more, then leave them in the comments below, and I'll make a second addendum for it. If you have any questions, then I'll make a Q&A for this series at some point if you want me to. But yeah, I hope this was useful, and I hope you learned something from it. I will probably do a series on an advanced Discord bot at some point. I just don't know when. I want to do some other series first. Maybe a Twitch chatbot series, maybe a Pygame series where we build a game. I don't know. If you have any suggestions on the sort of things you would like me to build, or that you would like me to do a tutorial series on, then I'd be more than happy to take them, and we'll see where we go. Because I only have limited ideas. So if you lot have any ideas, then that would be really useful as well. But yeah, I'll see you for the next video, which should be just whenever the next series starts. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know when it'll be. Yeah, again, if you have any questions, you can leave them down below. But I'll see you next time for whatever we might do. You can find me on the channel Superboo until then when I play games and stuff. If you like me personally, which I can't see why you would, but if you do, then you can go there. Yeah. Until then.